You ever just have one of those days when you're very tired? When the very thought of doing anything productive seems like it would be one of the 12 labors of Hercules? Well, I'm having one of those days and I just loaded up on coffee, so this video should be a bit extra. Let's talk about a new Switch console and a new Xenoblade game, and when I think they may release. Okay, everyone, it's that time of the week again. Rumors of the next Switch console are starting to speculate, or at least the next Nintendo console. Well, I don't know if I'd classify these as rumors per se. So according to IGN, link in the description down below, Bloomberg reported that Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa said in an investors presentation that there isn't any plans for a new console within the 2023-2024 financial year. So, going off of that, April 2024 would be the earliest release date going off of that information for a possible new console. Let me just take my headphones off. Now, the Switch's sales have been dropping, if you're not familiar, and are expected to continue to drop. So a new console relatively soon would make sense, and I've been predicting on this channel for a little bit now how I expect a new Switch sometime in 2024 or 2025. I don't think it'll be the Switch Pro. I think the name they could go with is just the Switch 2. Yeah, it's a bit basic, but I don't know if they want to fall into the same pit trap they did with the Wii and the Wii U, where people legitimately did not know that the Wii U was a new console. And I don't think I need to tell you how the Wii U went for Nintendo. I also think it's possible that this new console is announced sometime in 2023, this year, possibly the next big direct. The Switch came out in 2017, March to be specific, so we are due for a new console next couple of years. However, whether or not there will be a new Nintendo console isn't the conversation I want to have today, cause it's just a matter of time. Au contraire, mon ami. Let's be a bit bold, shall we? Let's try and predict a release date and predict when a new Xenoblade or Xeno series game could release. So first off, I think 2024 is the year that I would lean towards the most, and with the Bloomberg report we just talked about, sometime after April seems to be the play. Now, it could release spring or summer, but generally, Nintendo consoles release September or later. Funnily enough, the Switch and the 3DS were big exceptions to this, releasing around February or March. It could be April or May, but I just think late 2024, even early 2025 is the play here. Timeline roughly lines up with the 8-year console cycle, which isn't a hard and fast rule, but a good general guideline. You get it in before the holiday rush worldwide, or get it in early 2025, which is roughly when the Switch released, if they do prefer that time. Also gives Nintendo a good chunk of time to market the thing, and reveal some games for it, and ride off that hype. I've said before, I think it will probably just be a more powerful Switch. I can't see them moving away from the hybrid console model of the Switch, as it was a huge success with being able to be a mobile tablet docked. That hybridization gave them a lot of points for a lot of people. I know Nintendo the last few generations has liked to experiment with gimmicks for their consoles, 3D with the 3DS, the tablet with the Wii U, motion controls with the Wii, the dock and the non-dock formula for the Switch. But I feel like once you strike gold like they did with the Switch, you don't just leave, you mine the gold. Now, when it comes to the next Xenoblade title, things could get a bit tricky. Future Redeemed came out in April 25, or April 25th, as anyone else would say, 2023. They tend to be wanting to have something Xenoblade related every couple of years, so something in 2025 makes sense to me. I don't think it would be Xenoblade 4, there's a chance, I just don't think it is, as there's normally two big releases in the franchise between numbered releases. Had Xenoblade 1 the Wii, then we had the 3DS port and Xenoblade X, then we had Xenoblade 2. And in between Xenoblade 2 and 3, we had Torn of the Golden Country and Definitive Edition. Well, between 3 and 4, we already have Future Redeemed, so one other title before 4, at least, fits the pattern. Now, I'm not going to spoil Future Redeemed that much, but Future Redeemed does make me lean towards one particular title that they may do something with to fill in that final gap. You may consider this to be a spoiler or not, but it's important to talk about in case it turns out to be true. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, let's talk Xenosaga. If you asked me before Future Redeemed, I would have, and in fact did say that I thought X was the most likely candidate to have another entry, possibly X Definitive Edition, to fill up this slot between 3 and 4, and it could still be a thing, don't get me wrong, but with Bandai Namco being credited in the credits of Future Redeemed, for obvious reasons, they own Xenosaga, which was heavily referenced in Future Redeemed, not even referenced, just like straight up had lore bits talked about. You combine that with the report from earlier in the year, with Bandai Namco hiring developers for some action game they are partnering with Nintendo for, it could be Xenosaga remakes. And I'll leave 2 links in the description section down below about that if you want to read more into it. Unless they are stretching the definition of action games there, and it's just remasters of something not akin to a remake. Could be a stretch, Future Redeemed could be a red herring in this regard, but to me, I don't know if you would lean this hard into Saga lore canonically for Xenoblade if you didn't have something in the works involving Saga, or just reconfigure some of the lore and go with X instead. But they specifically chose Saga and even went so far as to put Saga in the intellectual property page for Xenoblade 3 on the Switch, and to credit Bandai Namco in the credits. Now, for those of you who are new to Xenoblade, or only touched Xenoblade, I only touched Xenoblade, let me fill you in on what Xenosaga is. Xenosaga was a series of games that Takahashi, essentially the guy in charge of Xenoblade, worked on years before. We're talking like couple decades at this point. They came out for, I believe it's the PS2, and there were 3 of them: Xenosaga 1, 2, which apparently we don't talk about, and Xenosaga 3. From my understanding, it was originally supposed to be 6 games, but due to poor performance, they didn't get to make 6 of those games. And for the longest time in Xenoblade, we went off the assumption that Xenoblade and Xenosaga were not related story-wise. They borrowed some features, like the Zohar from Xenosaga being essentially just the conduit from Xenoblade, just with a new name. But the assumption a lot of us operated under was that it was just merely Takahashi trying to maintain some semblance of his oldest stories, despite the fact he no longer has that IP. Bandai Namco has Xenosaga. Takahashi's with Monolith with Nintendo now. Now you may be asking, well, Jmulls, couldn't it just be a reference to Xenosaga and they don't have to really touch upon the lore or anything like that again? Well, yeah, sure, it's definitely possible, but let me riddle you this, Batman. Think of it from Nintendo's perspective. Why the hell would you greenlight something to boost popularity for another company's IP when you don't have access to it? You just don't, in my opinion. Unless a deal was already struck behind the scenes for something Saga related. Don't even think about it from a lore perspective. Think of it through a business perspective. There would be nothing in it for Nintendo with just hyping up Saga for no reason, unless maybe an exclusive Xenosaga remake or even remasters on the way for Nintendo's next console. Heck, they could even squeeze it in the end of the Switch life cycle if they wanted to. Which also, funnily enough, kind of lines up time-wise. If my prediction that the next Nintendo console comes out sometime in 2024, early 2025, that shockingly lines up with when the next Xeno title should come out. Let's run some numbers. And now don't worry, I'm not busting out any calculus for you. Let's take one example and put way too much importance on it, okay? Cool. Torn of the Golden Country came out on September 14th, 2018. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition came out May 29th, 2020. That's a difference of 623 days if the internet calculator that I used to calculate the number of days between 2 dates is to be believed. Future Redeemed, 3's Torna equivalent, came out on April 25th, 2023. 623 days after that is January 7th, 2025. Lines up shockingly well, doesn't it? Now, obviously, it probably won't drop exactly on January 7th, and I think a few months give or take is fair here. Could be like November, October, hell, even September. Could be January, February, March, April, we don't know, but I think somewhere in that stretch of time makes sense. At least to me, because that timeline kind of adds up. And I can't imagine them not wanting a Xeno title to be near the launch of the next console, considering how successful 2 was. 2 helped show off what the Switch could do, and was an overall beautiful game. Now, obviously, there are some differences here, Saga being owned by Bandai Namco being one of them, instead of just Nintendo. But if you want to show off your new machine and what it's capable of, a new entry from your increasingly popular RPG series, known for its extraordinary world design and visuals, is a good freaking game to use for that purpose, don't you think? While also going off the coattails of hype and success that Xenoblade 2 and 3 are getting them. Sure, it's not a title as popular as like Mario or Zelda, but it doesn't need to be. And I don't know if it will be a launch title. After all, Xenoblade 2 wasn't a launch title for the Switch. The Switch released in March of 2017, while Xenoblade 2 released in December later that year. But it was still close in the grand scheme of things. Now, all those calculations should be taken with a massive grain of salt. It is just, at the end of the day, guesswork, and there's no confirmation about any of this other than the next console not coming out before April 2024. But honestly, a timeline roughly following a Switch 2 release in late 2024 with a Xenosaga remaster or remake as either a launch title or early 2025 release makes a lot of sense to me, and lines up with a few patterns here. You could swap out Saga with an X Definitive Edition, since I think X would be a perfect game to make a remaster or Definitive Edition for, to show off the next console, but I think after Future Redeemed, all eyes are just simply on Xenosaga right now, despite the potential difficulties that could entail. But I feel like they knew what the reception to Xenosaga, or the hype for it, would be after making Future Redeemed. Yet they went ahead with it anyways, which just makes me think they have something in the works here. They may not, that's entirely possible. I'm just saying, if it were to happen, I wouldn't be that surprised. And again, don't take the numbers I used in this video all that seriously. There's a wide give or take here for any of those rough release dates I talked about. It's just getting a general mindset for when certain things may come out in relation to others, or what season or time of year things would make sense for. So, I'm gonna call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload and stream in the future, because we got Tears of the Kingdom coming up this week. Get hyped. Stay safe. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again.